This leads our bulletin. A cell phone expert says deleted messages may not be recoverable. Francois Moller has been testifying before the Misconduct Tribunal. The hearing is probing Judge President Selby Mbenenge. He is accused of sexually harassing his secretary, Andiswa Mengo. The alleged harassment happened between June 2021 and November 2022. Mengo says the messages were unwanted and later deleted. She claims Mbenenge also asked her to delete them. Two devices are being analysed, hers and his, but the expert says message recovery isn't guaranteed.
When one deletes an entry in a database file, that entry basically still stays there. It is not as if it is disappearing from the device because it gets deleted. So we call it, the easiest way to explain that is that entries are marked with little flags. So when you enter information into the phone, a name and a telephone number, let's take an example, a green flag will appear. So that means to the mobile device and the database, that line is occupied with specific information, and it must stay there. Now, the moment that we go into the mobile device and we say, I want to delete this first entry, that green flag just changes to, let's say, a red flag, for instance. Now, red for that, in my example, will mean to the database file, yes, there's data written into this line, this entry, but this line is available to be overwritten. So once you start to save new data, the possibility of the new data overwriting that deleted information is there. And the moment that that line gets overwritten, then only the information disappears from the device itself. Now, in the forensic world, a lot of people comes to us and say, so last week, for instance, I deleted a WhatsApp message or a contact, but I want to recover that. I want to get it back. Is it possible? Now, we've got a standard answer, and I don't like to give the answer, but the answer is we can't say. We have to download the device. And the reason for that is there's no way for us to predict whether we will be able to recover information on a database file. So the more often you use your phone, the less possible it will be for us to recover deleted information, because the more information you generate on the device, the quicker those deleted information gets overwritten, and then it is disappearing from the device itself.
All right, let's bring in SABC's senior news reporter, Kenny Mapanga. She joins us now with the latest update on today's proceedings. Kenny, a very good afternoon to you. So for the most part of the morning, the tribunal heard very technical testimony from cell phone expert Francois Moller. Importantly, of course, indicating how the recovery of deleted messages can't be guaranteed. Unpack his involvement in the unearthing of evidence to say, and what came out of his statements.
Indeed, quite a technical day at the day one of the May leg of the Judicial Conduct Tribunal, which continues to probe the first ever formal complaint of sexual harassment in South Africa's judiciary. For the viewers that are just touching onto the story, the judge's secretary, that is Andiswa Mengo, accuses the Judge President of the Eastern Cape Division of the High Court of sexual harassment, and she does so in her complaint through in-person interaction as well as electronic communication. Of course, the electronic communication between the pair forms part of the great bulk of the evidence that is before this tribunal in determining this complaint. So, of course, the evidence leader will kick off, or rather kicked off this morning, by bringing in the forensic expert that would have downloaded that information from two devices, one belonging to Andiswa Mengo and one belonging to the Judge President, and then providing the tribunal with the analysis that came out of those two phones. Now, it's important to note that when he extracted information from those particular phones, he got information from the phone of Andiswa Mengo. However, he did not get information regarding the Judge President's phone. meaning that the bulk of the messages, or rather the report that you saw him going through in today's hearing, was from the phone of Andiswa Mengo. Now, we know there are messages where we've seen them in the form of screenshots that have been made public before the tribunal, where it is confirmed that there isn't a difference between those messages and the report that the forensic expert has, meaning that the information that he downloaded coincides or rather corresponds with the information that he has in his report. Now, the only difference is that there are messages that are disputed between the pair. That would be the messages of an explicit and graphic nature. You remember the testimony of Andiswa Mengo is that she received images allegedly from the Judge President of a sexually explicit nature. Of course, the Judge President disputes this. Now, what we've seen is that she has a screen grab of that particular sticker or image that was in her phone. However, there is no message from the report, that is the forensic report, to correspond with the screen grab that she has. So it's either the message was deleted or the message did not exist. Now, he's unable to confirm why it is that she would have a screen grab of that particular sticker and the report that he has emanating from that phone wouldn't have that sticker either. And he doesn't have a cross-reference regarding this discrepancy, rather, because the Judge President's phone did not have that information as well. So it's quite technical evidence that's taking place today where essentially the forensic investigator, Unati, can't give a definitive answer regarding those disputed text messages, which are the most explicit in this probe, why you can't answer for those texts with respect to the forensic reports, as it does not show up in his formal report that he has presented to the tribunal. However, the complainant, that is Andiswa Mengo, does still have that sticker in her screen grabs and in her folder, as she explained that by the time she had taken the screenshot, that the message was already deleted. And she has testified before that in the exchanges between her and the Judge President, that there were messages that he would allegedly request her to delete. And of course, we have seen in the screenshots and the bulk of the WhatsApp evidence that there are some messages that would have been deleted for all, meaning that she would no longer have it and he would no longer have it. And the forensic investigator has already explained that when that takes place, there is no information available in the report to support that claim. So it is difficult to see how the investigator, or rather the tribunal, will approach this technical evidence specifically with the disputed text messages. However, we will be sitting for the next 2 weeks where we expect a number of those forensic and technical experts to come through to explain these kinds of text messages and the emojis used and the kind of message that would be conveyed. And we'll be giving you that coverage over the next 10 days as it takes place here in Johannesburg. Over to you in studio.
And of course, it is something that we'll be closely watching, particularly given the fact that we are talking over 800 messages that were potentially exchanged here, Kenny. So it does look like a lot of work done by the forensic investigator. But as you say, more to come over the next few days. But what in the main is the Judge President Selby Mbenenge or his lawyers have been arguing in this inquiry? If you can quickly just sum that up for us as we continue to monitor this particular inquiry.
Indeed. Well, when we left off from the January leg of the tribunal, that was the portion of Andiswa Mengo explaining her version of events or the experience she had allegedly at the hands of the Judge President. This morning, we did expect that we would hear something from the Judge President's team or their response or their turn to give their version of events. However, it was made clear by the evidence leader that she had not yet closed her case. So this witness that you saw called today is one of the 9 witnesses that the evidence leader, that is Advocate Salome Skeppers, intends to call to this probe. And I think this week will be dedicated to that list of 9. Then, of course, we can expect in the following week that the Eastern Cape Judge President will give his version of events. It is unclear whether he will take the stand or not, because we know that if he does take the stand, then he opens himself up to cross-examination. But it's difficult to imagine a scenario where he doesn't take the stand, because these WhatsApp exchanges involve Andiswa Mengo and the Judge President. So you would have to hear his side as to why exactly or what message he was trying to convey when he sent those particular texts. Then, of course, we know that there legal team, or the defense's legal team, or rather respondent, has already alluded to calling their own experts to come and explain those messages. Because remember, the argument is that the exchanges between the pair were consensual, and we can expect that they'll bring witnesses that will beef up that defense. That includes the forensic experts as well as an emoji expert who will come in and explain that when someone uses a particular emoji, what message are they trying to convey to the person who is intended to receive that particular emoji.
Fascinating, Kenny. Thank you so much for that. Kenny Mapanga is a senior news reporter here at the SABC, of course, just unpacking what transpired in court today.